The team sheets come out and you think this should be a fairly routine win for Chelsea this evening, and to go in front and concede, it's slightly disappointing, I suppose, the truth, yeah.
Yeah, it is really disappointing, and I think from the possession you can see we dominated the whole game, but we gave them a moment of hope and maybe poor defending in the box as well. I think it's one of those games where we said it off air, when you're playing so many youngsters in your team, they have nothing to lose, they have everything to prove. So you always have to be wary of that, and I think the delivery from Gordon was a quality delivery. Probably didn't expect it, probably didn't expect Mendy or Saul, who was probably marking him, for that to be the case. But yeah, really disappointing, man.
Yeah, like Jason said, I think in commentary that they're well worth a point in the second half. Yeah. And defensively were excellent, and I think they'll go away. A lot of the younger players, obviously Brantford gets a goal, but like you said, Gordon played a part. Dobbin, when he comes on, plays a part as well. Sims at start. There's a lot of younger players that Everton fans will be very pleased with their performance tonight. But from a Chelsea perspective, you look at it, like you said, not really that many recognisable names on the team sheet. You have to go and win games like that, and obviously. Disappointing because Liverpool have won this week. They've won tonight. I think they've won tonight. Yeah, they've won tonight. Manchester City obviously won emphatically earlier in the week, and games come thick and fast at the moment, so you never know where your next points on them are going to come along.
Yeah, and these are the type of games you want to see your team being ruthless. Do you know what I mean? You want to see Chelsea scoring the goals, and like they said on commentary, we had those chances in the first half, and then we kind of let them settle into the game. If we had scored one of those chances that we had, and then gone on to be a bit more creative, have the players coming on with less pressure like Saul and Barkley, then it could have been a whole different story. But we've seen this type of storyline happen a few times to us at Stamford Bridge now, with Burnley and Manchester United coming here and just sitting back and waiting for that one chance that they get, and unfortunately it happened again today.
And I suppose there is an element of no team necessarily owes us anything to come and play football. If teams are going to turn up, the best way to get a result is sit deep, allow Chelsea to have a lot of the ball and say, OK, well, can you break us down? Can you penetrate us? And if you can't, then you're not going to get anything from the game. And I suppose it's up to Chelsea to find an answer to that. We saw Saul play the false nine towards the end. Christian Pulisic started it. He went then left wing back. And when you're without an auxiliary centre forward, you have to find that a different way, don't you? And I suppose that will be the one thing that Thomas Tuchel will want to address, is when teams are doing this, because it is a fairly common theme, teams are coming and going, well, we don't need to engage, we don't need to attack you, it's not on us to make that effort. We have to find an answer to that. Yeah,
and it was quite difficult to watch at certain points, because you can tell that when we're trying to, we're playing out wide with Reece James and Alonso, we're used to having if it's not Lukaku, we've got Havertz, who's also a big frame that can be in the box. But with Pulisic in the middle now, it's a whole different dynamic, and it's not taking anything away from him, because he's normally the one that's putting in the deliveries, but it's something that you have to work at throughout the game. And I think we kind of struggled with the way Everton were defending, because they have got tall and strong defenders. So we saw in the last few minutes there, Trevor, he had a few opportunities to deliver the ball, but then he was thinking, would it be worth it? Do you know what I mean? If you're going to put a ball in those positions, it has to be perfect. We saw Reece James unlucky to not find Pulisic or Ziyech in the middle. But yeah, it's one of those games where it's really it's annoying that we wasn't able to show our dominance with the result, because everything else, you look at the stats with the shots on target, the corners, everything like that, but the goals, we just wasn't able to get more than one.
No, you're absolutely right. Liverpool have just gone 3-1 up, by the way. They've got about 10-15 minutes left to play. Trent Alexander-Arnold. But you're absolutely right. When you've got Romelu Lukaku in the middle of the box, he's a big, imposing frame. Aerially, he's going to beat majority of teams, and he'll feed off little scraps because that's his natural habitat. When you've got a player that's perhaps playing a different role or a false nine position, that's not their natural position. So like you say, you can't then just kind of whip it in, and maybe you don't want to be in a position where that's something you have to fall back on, but also that's another option that you've got. Like you said, when Trevor or Reece has got it on the right hand side and they look up and they see Romelu Lukaku against a Brantford, against a Keane, against a Godfrey or a Holgate who are decent in the air, you go, I'll back him. But potentially, if that's not their sort of front foot, then you have to play a different sort of way. And maybe that's what Chelsea have to look at in terms of that. We are playing a different way. But ultimately, when we are coming up against teams like this, it feels like we're in the game a lot of it. We're dominating the game a lot of the time, but perhaps we're not getting maybe it's a slice of luck even, potentially, because even for the goal, it's a very soft free kick that Everton have won. In fact, we'll come on to that. Let's start with Mason Mount, because he played brilliantly in the first half. Had a really good chance as well in the first half. In fact, I think we've kind of got our reactions to this a little bit earlier on in the studio. This is when we had Pat Nevin in the studio as well. And that was the one with Jordan Pickford, who was excellent
That was a
tonight,
quality
by the way.
save, yeah.
Absolutely excellent, Jordan Pickford, in the first half. He was really, really good. Really good all game, to be fair. It's one of those, yeah. It's really one of those.
At that point, we
were
thinking, yeah, we're just going to... Yes, these are going to be the chances that are going to be coming. But it's one of those games, and you mentioned Pickford. He was quality. He was quality throughout the whole game, and rightly so. He was man of the match. And on another day, it could have been 3, 4, 5 with the amount of chances that we had, the clear-cut chances as well. But he was quality, and the defenders, Rafa's going to be really pleased with the way they defended, and the fact that the youngsters came in and showed it did what they needed to do.
Completely right. Eventually, Mason Mount did get the better of Jordan Pickford, and this is how we reacted. Obviously, we'd sent Pat off by now. We'd sent Pat off upstairs, so he'd gone to join the commentary team and do a little bit. We're very. I think the relief is exactly what you can see it. Relief more than anything else.
Oh my God!
It's nice. It's nice, isn't it? Because there is a lot of relief in that.
We were so stressed out. It was one of those. It's genuinely one of those games where you're seeing your team dominate. You're seeing us on the ball throughout the whole game, and it just gets tiring. It's just like, we just need to score.
Yeah.
You know, however it goes in, whatever happens, just score the goal. And Mason Mount, to be fair, it was a great finish. It was a good ball from James as well. So, yeah, we did create a few chances in the second half as well. Not as many as we did in the first half, but yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. Some reaction from social media about the game tonight. Finally, Mason Mount, beautiful finish. Go Chelsea. Typical Mason Mount finish, isn't it? Because he gets so much power on it, but he's also so composed in a way. He just lifts it over Jordan Pickford. Mason Mount is the youngest player in Chelsea history, scoring 4 consecutive Premier League games. What a stat that is. Good work, Money Mace. Here he is. Zach is a regular on the show.
He will do that as
Zach,
well.
we're having this, mate. I'm absolutely going to remind you of this. However long it takes, I'm reminding you of this one day. What would we do about Mason Mount, future captain? Rich is spot on, mate. He's worn the armband a couple of times already in Chelsea Blue, and he's everything we talk about. You know, we all had Matthew Vaughan on before the show talking about, you know, that Chelsea journey. He's someone that's had it as a fan and as a player, come up through the academy, and obviously now he's playing at the very highest level. And we rely on Mason a lot. We rely on him a hell of a lot.
And he epitomises everything you love in a footballer. He's got the work rate. He's humble. He doesn't let all of the hype get to him as well, because obviously he's won the Champions League, he's very young, he's starting for one of the best clubs in the world. He's got a lot of competition as well in his position, but he will do a job wherever Tuchel asks him to do it. And now we're seeing the goals and the assists that a lot of the critics that were getting onto him were saying before this season, and now he's doing that more consecutively. Four goals on the trot is really good. So yeah, man, he's doing really well this season.
That's a really good point as well, because we spoke before the game with Pat, and we mentioned it many occasions, but you've got Hakim Ziyech and Christian Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi. We all talk about, they need a run in the team. Kai Havertz as well, Timo Werner need a run in the team. Jason made the point before commentary when he was doing his analysis piece on Mason Mount. He is in Chelsea's best 11. That he's not a player that you look at and you go, he needs a run. He needs to play, full stop. That is the underline next to it. Is Mason Mount is one of the first names on the team sheet. It's become so important. And then the same way that Christian Pulisic has a lot of pressure to deal with from everything, Mason's got the same, because we expect so much of him. And like you said, the biggest critics have been saying he doesn't score enough, he doesn't insist enough, he doesn't get involved in enough. My word, he's keeping them quiet at the moment.
Yeah, and he does everything, and that's why Chelsea fans like myself has had a lot of arguments with opposing fans saying how important he is to our squad, and not even just for us, for England as well, but also the fact that in his position, you're not necessarily, obviously we're all obsessed with stats and XG and all of these things, but when you watch Mason Mount, you see what he adds to the team. You see the fact that when he is playing, we're much better. Chelsea as a whole is much better, and you feel comfortable because the way he presses and he doesn't stop, he's relentless. Even after he scored his goals, some players will like ease off and have a few moments where they're still thinking about their goal, but not Mason. He will still track back, he will still chase the man, and you just love seeing that.
There was a chance, I think it was immediately after that, the moment you're talking about, he scored the goal, and then I think it may have been Ben Godfrey in the bottom left-hand corner, and he presses him so high, and he's almost like trying to wrestle a free kick off him and a throw-in and a corner, and the ball goes out because Mason somehow kept it in. And like you said, he's fuming with himself that he's not done better, and you're like, his standards are so high, and he's reaching that level again and again and again. He's so consistent. It's good to have players you can rely on, and I suppose that's the one thing we need to talk about is this period of the season. and obviously very aware of everything that's going on in the rest of the UK and the rest of the world, and especially in a sporting context. Players at the moment could be available one game and completely unavailable for the next 10 days if out of no fault of their own, just how the virus is going across. But with Mason Mount, whenever he's in the team, you feel him. When he's absent, when he's not there, his absence speaks volumes. So you need players like Mason when you are struggling a little bit to have 20 different options. If you've got Mason Mount in the team, you've almost got 3 options in one player. He can play as a 10, he can play as a 6, he can play as an 8, he'll press, he can add goals, assists. Chelsea are very lucky to have someone like him, someone we can rely on at such a young age.
Yeah, and I think other players around him take a lot of confidence and motivation from him because he's so young. He's doing, like you said, he works so hard. He's trying to stay motivated. He's always trying to get onto the next step, trying to do more and more. And if you're on, we saw the way Ziyech started in Chelsea and how much he presses now. I'm sure the managers were telling him Mount is a prime example of how you're supposed to work in that front three. Yeah, you can have all the ability, you can have all the flicks, all the tricks, you can score as many goals, but you need to have the fundamentals of being able to work with your team, being humble, being able to be selfless as well. And if you're asked to do a job out of your position, you do that as well. And Mount is literally that. So it's good for not just as a fan, because you're almost, like I said last week, when I'm watching him, I feel like he is me. Do you know what I mean? Even with the celebrations and how he gets onto other fans as well. He's got that cockiness as well, and he's trying to show them, you know what, I'm a true blue as well. I'm a fan of this club, and I'm going to give my all.
He's a fans player, he's a manager's player, he's a player's player. Absolutely right. Obviously, you know, didn't last too long, only 4 minutes until the equaliser. But I suppose the added thing from that is there's still plenty of time to come after it. Chelsea have got to try and find a way. You know, that's the disappointing thing. I'm sure that's the thing that Thomas Tuchel will be disappointed with, because we were the better side by a good margin tonight. And it should be a game where you come away a little bit like the Watford game, where perhaps you just get through it. And you've got to try and find ways to get through it. Everton will come away delighted with a point. It's a good point from on the road especially. But then when we get into this sticky period, this busy period, I suppose what you're really asking is you're asking for a Mason Mount-like performance from 10 or 15 players. Yeah. You know, and that gets difficult, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think Tuchel will definitely be frustrated, because it's the worst thing as a manager is seeing your team dominate and play it by what you've told them to do, but just not finish those chances, because we had the chances in that game, just wasn't able to finish. And then in football, you can't say that when you're not going to concede a goal. Yes, we had a good run when we weren't conceding, but at the same time, you're going to have those one-off chances where a team does get a goal, but it's how you react. And I think in the last few games where we have had draws, we've still had a few chances, but we haven't been able to get over that edge. So I think he's going to be drumming it in. And lucky for him, he's got the next game in the next few days, so you don't really have to dwell on it as much as you would if it was just once a week. So hopefully it's not too bearing on the team.
No, you're completely right. Not a great night for Chelsea all round, in fact, because the Chelsea women's team have lost 4-0 in the Champions League to Wolfsburg, which means Chelsea are out of the UEFA Women's Champions League, which is, disappointing night all round. I think you made the point excellently there. You can't get too down. You can't get too hurt and wounded about results. We've got a point tonight. You take the point, you move on. We've got a game in 3 days against Wolves. And that's the next thing, isn't it? Especially around the festive period. You can't get stuck on results. There can't be too much sort of reactiveness. You just have to be proactive, go again at the weekend and try and find answers again. Yeah,
and it's football. At the end of the day, you want to go into every game. We're going to be the favourites for a majority of the games that we play this season. You can't win all of them. It's just how you react to things like this, or losses even. So I think Tuchel's going to try to maintain that mentality of, OK, it's done. It's in the past. We've been doing that well recently. When we've had the draws, we've been conceding more goals. It's not the end of the world, like you said. A point is better than no point, and at certain points it could have been worse. So yeah, I think we just keep going and go again.
Completely right. Let's get some more reaction then from social media. Full-time Chelsea 1-1 with Everton. We forgot how to keep clean sheets. Bit harsh, Rico. Bit harsh, lad. And suddenly Chelsea can't keep clean sheets. I think you have to look at goals in isolation. We didn't give up that many chances tonight. I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing that Thomas Tuchel will be slightly more pleased with. Only Arsenal have had more different teenage goal scorers in the Premier League than Everton, with Jarrad Branthwaite, the 19th to do so for the Toffees. It's a fantastic night for Jarrad Branthwaite. Really good goal. We took it well at the end of the time. But like you just said there, I mean, the stats will tell you everything you need to know. Chelsea didn't concede that many chances tonight. There weren't that many chances. But similar to the Manchester United game in that aspect, is dominant for a long period, but ultimately, if the other team gets a chance and takes it, then you're going to be in the same position. I think there'll be a lot that Thomas Tuchel will like to look at, but I think there has to be a perspective of defensively. I thought we were a lot better today because we were in command and we didn't really give up many chances.
Yeah, and it came from a free kick. Like, so in isolation, when you look at the actual situation, it's not like we were defending for a period of the game badly. It was just switched off for one moment, and those moments can be so costly, like we've seen. And if you're going to be challenging for the top trophies, those moments can't happen too often. So I know Tuchel, he's been in positions like this before. We know that there's pressure in this job regardless, and the players know what they're fighting for. It's just about how you respond in the next game.
Completely. Yeah. Let's get our knee-jerk reaction then for tonight, which is wasted opportunity. I think in fairness, before the game, you know, we were talking about Chelsea coming into it. They've got a very good, strong squad on paper. Everton had a much weaker squad. I don't think that's unfair to say. And defensively, they were very good tonight. But I think the opportunity as such is maybe because with how things are going, you can't take games for granted anymore. Like, you have to play what's in front of you because you never know at the moment the way things are going when the next time you're going to play football is. So you don't want this to be the final game for however long and be looking back and thinking, if we'd have got 3 points, then you can start again after it, or whenever the refresh comes. So I think ultimately that's the opportunity, isn't it? The fact that Liverpool and Manchester City have both won games. Teams around us are having games called off. They're going to have more of a build-up at some point during the season. We can't really afford a build-up because the amount of games we've already got. So the opportunity was to just keep winning, just keep pushing, keep moving forward. And off the back of a good win against Leeds at the weekend, we come through it. Watford a week or so ago, felt like we were starting to get back into our rhythm.
Yeah, and it's so tight up there. Like, it's good that we're in that race and we're in the conversation with the Liverpools and Man Cities, but we've seen their level of consistency, and through when they're playing games against Newcastle and the Evertons, they get the results. But at the same time, this is the Premier League. They're going to have games where they have similar results, where they lose and where they drop points. We're now the ones that are chasing top spot, and to be honest, it's not a position that we're not used to. It's not something that is completely new to us. So I think if we can just get our heads down and just focus on the next game, not dwell on Liverpool being ahead or Man City being ahead of us, then we'll be all right, man.
Completely right. That's the mindset, isn't it? And that's, you know, unfortunately, that is the mindset of a Chelsea fan. Is you're so used to winning everything that when you don't win games, it's a bit of a different perspective. You have to be aware of everything that's going on. You have to be overview. Chelsea is still in all competitions. They're still very much in the title picture.
Still early.
I think we're now, what is it, 4 points away from City at the top of the table. 4 points is nothing, you know. In the space of everything, that's a week potentially, especially over the next couple of weeks. You could make 4 points up. Here you go. I mean, you can make 4 points up in the space of 5 days. Like, genuinely, you know. You look at especially from Boxing Day. You got again Boxing Day, then you got Brighton midweek, then you got Liverpool on the 2nd of January. In that week, you could go from third, being trailing, to leading the Premier League. It is about that consistency. It's about getting to that level. And there are going to be teams that are going to struggle over this period, you know. And there are. That's just the nature of the beast of Premier League football, isn't it?
100%. And like we said, Everton are going to cause teams problems with the way that they play football, along with other teams as well. We've seen shock results this season that have already happened, and we're still kind of early on. It's not far gone. Like you said, we're 4 points behind, 17 games played. And Liverpool are quite close. The fourth, we're not really in that conversation as much. It's just a drop. We've dropped 2 points. The reason why it hurts more is because we came into the game, we wanted to dominate. We said 70% possession. Pat said we wanted to have 15 to 20 shots. We did all those things, but we just didn't get the win. Do you know what I mean? So it's not terrible, but it's just annoying. And that's all you have to see it as a Chelsea fan. Don't get too frustrated with the fact that we've dropped those points, because there's going to be other teams that are going to do that. And if we can like kind of look positively in the future with the fact that people are coming back from injury, we're getting goal scorers back, we're not playing bad. It's not like we're playing terrible football. It's not like we're conceding so many chances and everyone's wondering what's happened to Chelsea. That's not what it is. So it's just stay calm and just focus on the goals that we have.
Completely agree. And you look at the games we've got coming up. You've got Wolves, obviously, on Sunday, Brentford in the Carabao Cup next midweek, then Boxing Day, Aston Villa, Brighton, and then a very difficult spell in January. You've got Liverpool, Manchester City and Spurs, Chesterfield in the FA Cup as well. No disrespect to them, but not quite on the same level. Then the Club World Cup. So there's games that come in thick and fast, important games. It's probably now very important over the next week to 10 days that we get results against Wolves, against Brentford in the Carabao Cup, against Villa and Brighton. Those are the 4 you look at now and you think, OK, realistically, we need to come through probably at least 3 of those with good performances and maximum points. Obviously not Brentford being in the Cup, but those are the ones you look at now and you think, as a run, that's what we want. Yeah,
it's all about building momentum, because with this there comes the speculation, did we put them in the conversation too soon? Is what's going on with their injuries? How bad is it affecting them? And we've spoke so much about the squad depth and how good our team is, and it's not necessarily, like I said, we've been playing bad. It's just unfortunate that one chance led to a goal. The same with Manchester United when the ball came from the sky. It was like those small anomalies. It's just like it keeps happening to us, but that won't happen for long. And I think Tuchel has a very good way of almost telling the team that, OK, it's gone now. Even in his press conference, he will say, it's gone now. Let's look at what's happening next, because like you said, the schedule is action-packed. You can't have time to dwell on these results, because if you do, that's when you just keep on seeing yourself slip. So it's just face forward and let's keep going.
And also, I suppose there is a little bit of that. Wolves at the weekend is a Premier League game, but Brentford in the Cup next week. Brentford not got the biggest squad. You know, they've got a lot of games like we have. Potentially, you'll be looking at rotation in that one. We saw the 18s play well earlier. We know the PL2 team, there's a lot of them that are sort of knocking on the door of first-team football. It might be an opportunity with the illness and the injuries and stuff like that. They're going to cause a problem over a congested period. Maybe to have a little look at some of them. And you're not taking the game lightly, because ultimately you've got to know what you've got, especially in this instance and in these next couple of weeks and months. So maybe it's an opportunity to take that focus off the Premier League a little bit. You look at the Carabao Cup in isolation, knowing that if you get a result, you're into the next round, and the players maybe that have proven 1 or 2 that they're ready for the step up as well. So you've got an opportunity to look at them.
Yeah, 100%. And we've seen the quality in the ranks. We saw the result against Leyton Orient, the goals that were being scored, and like Pat said, the movement that they had and how they were playing. It's not like it will be an anomaly for them to make that step up, because we've seen players do that. And we've seen even today with the Everton youngsters, the quality in that level right now is really high. So I think if they're given the opportunity by Tuchel, I'm sure that they'll take it.
Absolutely right. And again, like we keep saying, you know, we keep coming back to it, there's a lot of games to play, there's a lot of football to play. So even if tonight, you know, it feels a little bit like we've dropped points, you can make those points up quite easily. Like we said, in the space of 5 or 6 days, you can make up the points that you've dropped tonight. On a perspective of individuals, you look at players that play well tonight. Trevor Chalobah coming back into the team. The fact that he's come back from injury is such a big positive. And he looked fresh and he looked sharp when he come on. There was no sort of reoccurrence. He didn't seem, you know, it was obviously a hamstring injury that kept him out, wasn't it? Didn't feel like he was nursing it. He looked ready. He looked ready to compete and go back again, which first signs when he pulled up, we all feared the worst a little bit. It's nice to see him back so early. Yeah, and he's the type of player that can play centre-back, he can play right wing-back, he can play CDM, he can play central midfield. So having a player like that with the amount of experience that he's got this season, I think is really good. And also the fact that Kovacic, that he's coming back, Kanté was on the bench as well. When you have these players coming back, it's not only good for Tuchel, but it's good for the team, because it also builds that confidence. OK, cool, we're going again. Because when you lose players like that, you can't take away the importance that they have for the squad, regardless of the quality that comes in to replace them. So it's only up from here, man. I'm completely right. And N'Golo Kanté being back on the bench is such a big deal. You know, we know how important he can be. And if you've got someone like Kanté back on the bench for a busy period, perhaps it wasn't the right night for him to come on and risk it a little bit. I think maybe Ruben's booking quite early on maybe would have changed tactics ever so slightly. But you look at someone like that coming into a busy period, when you've slowly got players that are starting to reappear from injury, it does feel a little bit, even though the result doesn't seem as much tonight, it does maybe feel that we're, you know, one of the least affected by injuries and illnesses at the moment, which maybe 10 days ago we were probably one of the worst here.
Yeah, and Kanté's the type of player that gives everyone confidence. As a fan, as a player, as a manager, we've heard so many people talk so fondly of him, even when he was talking about if he was gonna be in Kingsman, because he's the type of player that just gives you confidence, because you see him working, you see what he does, not just defensively but offensively as well. So yeah, I think this period is busy, but if everyone can come back and hopefully we're nursing the injuries quite well, we should have a full squad soon.
Definitely. And again, you know, I know we touched on it beforehand, but you look at across the Premier League, Conor Gallagher and Billy Gilmour especially, that are performing really well on their loan spells. You look at players like Trevor, and you look at players, even like N'Golo Kanté coming back in now, he's going to be in an area where you're looking at additional players that could come into the squad next year and maybe take an opportunity. I know it's such a long way away now, but in these busy periods, I suppose that's the testing block for someone like Trevor, to see how he's able to compete, how he's able to deal with coming back from an injury, because that can be so difficult for an experienced player that's played 300 or 400 Premier League games. Never mind for a young player that had probably hit heights that he didn't expect that early on. You know, he's very quickly into the first team picture, into being a starter for Chelsea. An injury can be quite a difficult thing to mentally overcome. Maybe at the moment, that's the next couple of weeks for us, is to see really how it affects Trevor mentally as well as physically.
Yeah, 100%. But I think Tuchel's so good at bringing people back into the squad. We saw Pulisic at the beginning of the season. He had the injury, wasn't forcing him back in, even with Lukaku as well. Even till now, even though he thinks that he's fully ready to start, Tuchel's saying that we still need to embed you into the team, and also for you to get aware of how I want you to play up top. Same with Chalobah. Even in his position, he's so good at what he does, and even getting the minutes now, I think he's going to get confidence in the fact that Tuchel trusts him to come on in high-pressured situations, and hopefully we don't get any of those recurrent injuries, especially in this time period with the winter. You know, that affects your body as well. But I think Tuchel's doing really well at nursing the injuries within the squad. That's
the important part, isn't it, about managing players, because some players will come back and they'll be ready to play and they'll be ready to go. And N'Golo Kanté, we assume that he doesn't feel injuries, that nothing affects him because of how reliable he is and because of what a tremendous athlete he is. But at the same time, you can't rush a player of his calibre back, because if you do, you do yourself a disservice going forward. And if we're in a position where, you know, we rush N'Golo back and then 3 or 4 weeks down the line Jorginho's picked up a knock, or Kovacic still unavailable, and we've rushed Kanté and he's out for a extended period of time, we can't allow that. You're an elite football club like Chelsea. You don't need to rush players back. You can't be in a position where you do rush players back. And I think that's something that Thomas Tuchel seems to get the balance absolutely spot on with.
Yeah, we've seen in the past when a player has been rushed back and then they're pulling up like 10 minutes after they come on, and that's the worst sign to see, because it genuinely just makes you think there's either going to be a recurring problem or they'll force back, and it means that there's someone that's in the squad that's not trusted. With Chelsea, you're seeing players like Barkley, Saul, other players that are given opportunities and given that trust to play in these high-pressured games, and I think that that's a good sign of team chemistry, team morale, being in the same place and knowing that we're all in this charge together. And hopefully that means that the players that are coming back don't feel that pressure to come back too soon, because that also does happen on their end.
I think that's the importance as well, isn't it? As Chelsea fans, you know, tonight can be disappointing, but there was a little bit of discomfort at the end, I think mainly towards frustration rather than anything else. But there does need to be a large amount of perspective. You know, Chelsea are going through not the best period of form at the moment, but that's only because we set the bar so high. It's certainly not a bad patch. You know, we're not losing games of football. And also, we're Chelsea fans, we expect a lot, but also this is the part where you dig in together, where you go in for a period where things are tough, everything else around the outside is starting to cause a little bit of a noise in the Premier League aside. So you have to stick together, you have to be part of that Chelsea family, you have to buy into it, and we know the players do, because like we saw the passion against Leeds at the weekend, fans need to play their part as much, especially over the festive period.
Yeah, we want to win every game. Like, everyone watching this and us in here, like, we're taking the shots with the players, we're taking the misses and all the hits with the players. We want to win every game, but the reality is it's the Premier League, and you know that there's some games where that's not going to be the case. The worst thing you can do is try and get onto your team or saying, this, even though you know your favourites and you dominated, why are you not winning, all of that. You can't have that approach, because if you have that approach, if the manager had that approach, it would definitely affect the team negatively. So if they're hearing that in the stadium, which they're not, because I heard them still cheering them on to the final whistle, it's a long game. The season doesn't end here. We've still got more games to play. We're still going to play the Man Cities, the Liverpools, where we can gain points. So just be patient and just stick behind the team.
Completely right. And again, Thomas Tuchel has been saying in his post-match, he's talking about not looking for excuses. You know, we have to make a lot of changes, the team changes and etc. But he's not looking for excuses. I think that's the important part as well, isn't it? When you know that the manager is very much stood in front going, no, we deal with this together. We don't shy away from any difficulties. We get to that ready for that, very comfortable, and you're happy with that, aren't you?
And that's what we've always liked about Tuchel. He's very honest. He's very honest with the players, very honest with the fans. He tells us how it is. You can't shy away from the situation that we're in. We've got a few players missing, a few players through injury, so he's had to adjust, he's had to do things that you wouldn't necessarily see, but it's not an excuse, because he said we've got the quality to take on the game. And we saw in the game that we dominated, but we just didn't penetrate as much as we wanted to. The next game, it might be 3-4, and it could possibly be with the amount of chances we create. So just like I said, just patience and just stick behind the team.
Completely right, mate. Well, let's hear from the Chelsea manager. Thomas Tuchel has been speaking post-match pitch side.
Well, Thomas, that must be a really frustrating feeling for you that we didn't manage to take the 3 points tonight.
Yeah. It's obviously far too easy to take points from us than from us taking from the others. We escaped in the very last second against Leeds. Happened to us against Burnley here at home, and again today. I don't know why, but because there's not like this big thing, what is going wrong or whatever. We invest a lot, we play good football, we attack consistently, we invest so much. The effort is so high, the outcome is so low. And if you compare it to the investment of Everton.
Was the key here not taking one of those first half chances? Because there were so many of them.
Everything is a key. I don't know if it's one key, but there were so many chances, so many situations in the box. And yeah, you struggle. Obviously, we struggle to score. We struggle to take these big chances. Could have been easy, two, three goals up and then finish the game. Obviously, it's not.
How difficult was it to prepare with so many last-minute withdrawals?
It was okay. We knew at 12 o'clock who's ready and who's in the squad. Obviously, there were no more strikers and offensive players, so it had an effect today on the bench who to come, who to bring, but was not a problem in preparation.
I guess a benefit then that you managed to get Trevor Chalobah on for a little bit to make his return.
Yeah, okay. Of course, would have wished for a better game to bring him on. We tried to bring Trevor on to maybe make him score from a set piece because we did not create too many chances after the equaliser, but yeah.
Hard luck tonight. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
You can see the frustration, can't you, in the manager? And he's one of us. You know, we've said this countless times. He feels the same as Chelsea fans do. But again, I like to see that from a manager, that honesty. You know, he doesn't come out and try and paint a picture that didn't happen. He says, you know, frustrated, we should have taken their chances, and you wish for a better game, but that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and he literally said it. You do everything right. You know, you dominate the game. We haven't been dominated the last few games, and we did that today. We created more chances in the first half than we did in the second, but at the same time, you still would think that with those chances, you'd get the win. You wouldn't see the one chance that they get to just suddenly be a goal, and that's what's been the case in our last few draws. So it is frustrating, but you can tell it's just this period, and it's more about how you react, like we've said, and what you do next.
Completely right, mate. Completely right. Still plenty coming up on the fifth stand over the next couple of days, of course, as well, including Thomas Tuchel back in action in the press conference Friday afternoon ahead of Chelsea's trip to Molineux. Sunday, join us from 12:55 on Matchday Live for that one. Sam, thank you, mate. Good work as always. Thank you to Pat Nevin. Thank you to Matthew Vaughan, who joined us earlier from the Kingsman film. Make sure you go and see that Boxing Day. Plenty more football still to come. We're all Chelsea. We'll get back to it. We'll see you Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your evening.